Hi everyone, Big Mike here. It's time for another tutorial, and one day I'll come up with a new opening line. But for today, we're going to take you through Mistborn, the RPG, from Crafty Games. Are you ready? Doesn't matter, we're still going. Mistborn uses D6s to determine successes. What happens is you'll roll a relevant stat, depending on what you choose, like say your physical ability or your physique, and you roll that number in d6s. Now, here's where the situation gets a little complicated. The game master will issue a target number that you have to hit. Let's say it was a 2, all right, for you to complete. You have to roll the number 2 on 2 or more dice in your dice pool. You have to hit the target number at least twice in your dice. Yes, it does sound a little problematic, but that is how they decided to do it. On top of that, if you ever get a 6 in any of the dice that you roll, those count as nudges, and those give you better advantages in the outcome roll. So not only did you succeed, but something else beneficial happened that will assist you further on in the story that you're playing through. As a result, challenges in this system range from a number value of 1 to 5, because 6s are nudges and they push you forward. So 5 is considered a nigh biblical challenge for you to try and match and surpass. In the game, you have 3 sets of stats: attributes, standing, and resilience. Attributes represent the normal stats that they always do, but there's only 3 this time: physique, charm, and wits. Standing is your social skills and break down into resources, influence, and spirit. Your resilience stats are derived from the first 2, so your health is the sum of your physique and resources, and so on down the line. Now there's a 4th set of stat called powers. In Mistborn, at character creation, you put points into attributes, standing, and powers. You pick which of these 3 stats is your most important and assign the most amount of points to it. And then you go so on down the line. So you'll have one that's considered strong, one that's considered medium, one that's considered weak, and you have more points accordingly. If you put your powers as your weakest set of stats, you don't actually get any special powers from the Mistborn universe, just extra traits. And I'll explain traits in a second, but first I have to explain powers. Powers are the form of magic that appear in Mistborn. The big 2 are allomancy, which is the ability to consume metals and to get powers from them. The other is Ferushimi, or whatever it's called. That's the ability to store your own innate abilities into metals and to use them later on when you need them. Yes, I am drastically simplifying it. Yes, it is for spoilers. No, I'm not bringing up the 3rd thing. Let it go. Hey! Now, before you determine your character's initial stats, Mistborn insists that you and your players you play with form an overall crew identity first. This means your crew's overall objective and how each of you work together to make that objective happen. This is because the original Mistborn novel was a caper novel, and as a result, there's been a big focus on the RPG so that everyone else also plays a caper fantasy kind of game. That's why it's at the top of the character sheet. And, as always, there's traits, those fun little one-word phrases that describe your character. On the Mistborn character sheet, they actually have their own categories, but sometimes you get the chance to put on your own couple of blank universal ones. Now, traits are designed to be very specific in this game so they don't apply to everything, and the book specifically mentions that. And every trait that does apply to a situational roll adds an additional dice to your dice roll. There's an additional system called burdens, which you acquire as the game goes on whenever you fail at conflicts, typically. These take away dice. On top of that, each player has a tragedy and a destiny. These don't have any mechanical connection unless you somehow meet your destiny or overcome your tragedy, but that's just for character advancement rewards. Your sheet also has a section for secrets that you know and learn as the adventure goes on. The idea is that in the world of the Final Empire, there are a lot of freaking secrets, and some can change the course of history if you were to let them be publicly known. When you use them is up to you, but because they're such a heavy thing in this kind of game, they get their own spot on the character sheet. After that point, you just determine your character equipment, which is called props. And that's limited by your resources stat, which determines how much you can actually have as you go into this game. So if you're really poor, there's less props you can have that'll help you with different roles and situations and such. Then there's contested rolls, or rolls that have you go up against a player without doing harm. You roll the stat, and you add or take away based on traits and such. Highest result wins. Ties go to whoever has more nudges. Conflicts, however, are a much more complex and convoluted ball of wax, and I get to take you through all of it. Let's do it! First, I have to explain initiative. Now, what happens is, players first, in the round of combat that they're in, declare their actions for the round in order of lowest initiative to highest. The idea, I believe, is that people with higher initiative can be more reactive and make different decisions depending on what other people are doing because of their lower initiative. Then, you and the storyteller determine what stat to roll with for that round and how many dice you're going to have for your action pool. And when that's done, if you have more than 10 dice, those become your action dice. The extra dice becomes your defense dice. And based on what other people do, you can decide to move more dice into the defense dice pool. Also, you can choose to say, to hell with that, I want to do a new action entirely from what I've declared before. Have your pool of dice, and then go last. After that, the round in which things actually happen is determined by who has the most action dice, and highest amount goes first, going down the line till the lowest amount goes, and that's the end of it. And you can choose not to act at all this round and purely defend, and that's perfectly viable, depending on your character, of course. When the combat actually happens, players roll action versus defense. Now, keep in mind, your dice roll, or either action or defense, will incorporate your traits and boons and bonuses or whatever else you have in the system that's helping you out, be them circumstantial or something innate in your character. Highest result wins. Well, the highest paired set of dice result wins. Nudges determine ties. If you succeed, you only do 1 damage. Okay? But if you get additional nudges in your dice pool, you do more damage. 1 for each nudge. Also, if you're fighting just a generic NPC, then 1 damage is all it takes to take them out of the fight. Only established villains actually have more health. So, that's how that goes. And that's the Mistborn system. It's a fair bit more convoluted than a lot of simple RPG systems out there, so if you're a first-timer, unless you're a really hardcore Mistborn fan, you might want to shy away from it for a while. But it is an interesting take on conventional rules mechanics, and if you do want to, give it a try. You may find you'll like it a lot. For the rest of you, you'll just have to be content for when we play it. See you next time. Now, the first thing that always gets determined in a Mistborn game isn't your own character's individual abilities or attributes, but rather the goal of your crew as a whole. The original Mistborn novel had a very, very big bing bon vapors. Bumbo vapors. Brime brapers. Bear bubile in a brampathy setting. Fucking brapers. This one's gonna have a blooper reel, isn't it? Yep. Brian Paper. Raggy. Now I should explain traits. Like every other system we've covered that does have traits, with the exception of Pathfinder, actually. Traits are little descriptive sentences that add something to your character based on your character's background or personality. In the Mistborn system, they add dice. Every dratigan. Oh, dratigan. Oh, dratigan. Droll drat is trying. Can we watch The Great Mouse Detective this weekend?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And, much like every other system that rips off Fate, is a modern system, this system has traits. I'm throwing shade today. That's going in the bloopers, isn't it?
Yes.
Good. Stop ripping off Fate! There. I got it out of my system.
You feel better now?
Yeah, I do. Only Pathfinder knows how to use traits without being an asshole. Fuck. What the hell? Get your shit together, guys. And, as always, traits do exactly what you would have expected them to do by now. Traits are tiny little descriptive words, generally very specific, that describe either a job you have, or an aspect of your personality, or a part of your backstory, and whenever you use them, they'll apply to whatever role you and, of course, your game master feels is relevant. And when they apply, they add a dice. God, I'm just gonna fucking say this properly. Blah. Blah. I'm the scat. I need to watch more of Soviet Womble stuff before I do filming, because that cheers up my disposition incredibly. Do you watch Womble?
No.
You should. He's funny. Additionally, a few of your traits. What was that?
It was you.
Okay.
Turned you off.
That me.
Oh, that you.
Yeah. All right. Oh, for fuck's sakes!
God damn it, guys! We're filming!
You want to mute my phone and my thing? And that's the Mistborn system. It's a little more convoluted than most conventional, simple, narrative-focused RPG systems, but the inclusion of a very series of complex magic systems kind of requires more convoluted rules. No, it doesn't. I'm lying to you. It was completely unnecessary. All they had to do was make a power section for the freaking elements in the back of the book. You know, like every other RPG system did in early 2002. Until we decided we were too cool for that and said, whatever makes sense. I'm lying to you. This is needlessly complex. Because it's trying to be different. Because they didn't want to make a fucking expansion book to the Fate system. This is stupid. Why are we doing this to ourselves? If you like it, knock yourself out. But fuck, it's so goddamn... You heard me explain initiative? Did you understand it? I mean, we all got it conceptually. Yes, it's a lovely idea. But really, did you really need 2 phases to initiative? This isn't Shadowrun. We're not hacking and doing something else at the same time. It's just declaring. That's all. It's all a wash in the next round of combat anyway. Oy vey. Whew. That's going in the bloopers, huh?
Yep.
For Mike's real opinion on Mistborn, go to get him outside for a drink where no one's recording what he says. Because Mike ranted about masks on Twitter and said he didn't care for it, and still someone got offended. He doesn't care if you like something, and he has frequently said, if you like something, like it. But he's allowed to dislike it. Oy.